Yes, we're live now. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I would like to start with a huge thank you to Jessica Angel and the Vancouver Biennale for having us both here today and giving me the opportunity actually to engage with Michaela Mantegna, who's joining us from Argentina. We met, believe it or not, on a chat. So please, everybody, have an active chat session because sometimes you meet the most amazing people.
Absolutely.
We met in a chat on huge international conversations that are going on right now. How AI is starting to apply for patents, and is that okay? So international laws might change. There's international agreements. So what's going on around that? And WIPO, I don't know how you pronounce that one, the World Intellectual Property Organization has been organizing international conversations. And that's basically how I met Michaela, who is, I'm going to tell you because she has this amazing bio, so I'm not going to miss it. She's a lawyer specialized in AI and video games policy. So I've been tweeting a lot and trying to get the video game community here today to listen to her. She's an advocate for diversity. She's a co-founder, board member of Women in Games Argentina, a female collective working towards a more inclusive industry, and Women in Games International Ambassador. Michaela is a leading expert in the emerging field of video game policy and pushing boundaries about the social value of interactive entertainment as a new narrative media of expression and socialization. Really important work, very 2020. Her research interests in this area include the use of AI in video games, content moderation in game environments, streaming as a negative area of intellectual property. You're gonna have to explain that one to me, Michaela. Monetizing practices. I'm sure we need to hear that today too. And games industry regulatory challenges. So welcome, Michaela. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to start with your presentation. Everybody, please do not hesitate to put some questions in the chat, and I will relay those. Brian will relay them to me, and I will relay them to Michaela. And if we have a little time, I might show you a little video at the end. If not, it doesn't matter. You can join me later on in the week. There's other events going on. So welcome, and the floor is to you, Michaela.
Thank you so much for having me, Valentine, and for the invitation. I'm going to share my screen now. I like to present myself, I define myself as abogamer. It's a pun in Spanish, meaning that you are a lawyer and a gamer as well.
Nice, I like it.
It's like a fun pun to break the ice. Please tell me if you are seeing my screen. It should be in a moment.
Yeah.
Perfect. So here we go. The presentation today is more focused on art because about the Biennale, but we were talking with Valentine to maybe organize something specific for video games later on December. So it would be my pleasure. She's a fantastic person. She knows a lot of things. So I would be very, very happy to talk about those topics with you. So a quick introduction on what is artificial intelligence for those of you that are not in the field. And we have to say, like, we are transitioning from this information society where all our values were put into immaterial goods, in material economy, in a digital economy, and into a society that values the insights that data can provide, which can be called an algorithmic society or a data-driven society. So it's a society where we took decisions based on data. So this is a very common phrase saying that the data is the new oil, but would be more accurate to say that data is kind of a mineral because you have to refine it before you can use it. And another common place is saying that data is the new electricity, which is true because it's a technology that could be used across all industries. So it's a very recent development, but also a very old field of study that now has this new impulse due to data availability. We have a lot of data going around. Thanking for internet and the Internet of Things. We have a lot of computing power to use this data, and also advancing in mathematical research that allow us to be in this moment that artificial intelligence leave behind the AI winter and is becoming again very, very relevant and going into every industry around. So, speaking about Internet of Things, every interaction that we do with a smart object, every daily interaction that we do, we produce data as a byproduct. And this data is going to be used and it's going to be collected by many devices, and then stored, sold, transferred, and used to create what I like to say is profiles about us. This is a very old movie. I'm a very geek person, so there's a lot of reference in my presentations. This is from an old movie, Bedazzled, I think is the English translation. But the thing was like the devil and God can see labels of people. And this is kind of what AI does around us. It has profiles on us, and it also kind of labels that are invisible for us, but they travel around with us as we browse the internet. So what is AI? We like to say that it's a black box because you have like this architecture where data comes in, data is an input, and then you have an output. And in the middle, you have like this magic for us that we don't know about computer science. So something happens in the middle and we have a very useful output. What is in the middle is these models that processes this data and and transforms the data in something relevant, in an output that could be used for something. What is beneath, inside, sorry, English is my second language, so sometimes I have these flaws. What is inside these black boxes is algorithms, and algorithms can be thought as a recipe to do something. You have like this a sequence of steps. You follow those steps and you transform your input into an output. So logically, if you change your inputs, even if you follow the same steps, you're going to have a very different output. So that's why it's very relevant why the data we select and the bias that could be inside or nesting within the data that we selected. And we can think about artificial intelligence as the field, machine learning as a technique that is using a lot of data and makes computer learns without the necessity of being explicitly programmed. You don't have to code. Machines could learn without coding. That is kind of true. And deep learning is a set of an architecture inside machine learning, inside the field of machine learning. And the very specific thing that we're going to talk about a bit today is generative AI. It's a very specific field within deep learning that allows you to not only use data to classify or predict what are the most useful things that artificial intelligence is doing today, like recommending movies or recommending books or something you want to buy, but also is able to create new data. So you have maybe heard about deepfakes. So a lot of this is going in this field of generative AI. The most relevant architecture in this field is called Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs, that comes from a paper from Ian Goodfellow. And the thing is, you have these are called generative adversarial networks because they are generative, because they can create data, they can create new content. Adversarial because they do it in a very iterative process. They compete with each other. There are two networks on this. And networks because they are based on artificial neural networks. So the thing with GANs is like they use the data from the data set and relies on the learning, the probabilistic inferences that are within this data set to create new data. They try to mimic the data from the input data to create data that is similar to this data set. What you can create a lot of things that are called synthetic media and can be news articles, can be faces, can be scripts, can be music, paintings, can be a lot of things. Video game assets, there are companies that are doing and working in this space, trying to create video game assets that can be readily used to place on levels. You might have heard about GPT-3, that is from OpenAI. It's an architecture that is doing a lot of advancing. Some people think this is the way to general artificial intelligence. But the thing is that the GANs architecture, you have a discriminator and you have a generator, and they're kind of a game of a thief and the police, because one is trying to generate data that is going to mimic the probability distribution of the data set. And the other one, the discriminator, is trying to police this data and determine if this is fake data or this is real data that is coming from the real data that is feeding into this architecture. If you want to play around a bit with this, you can go to These Cats Do Not Exist. It's a website that you can see pictures from cats, because we all know that internet is made of for cats and from cats. And you can see like there is like a little here cat from from hell, but the other ones are really, really difficult to think if they are fake or they are real cats. So if we have this concept of the GANs, we have real samples that are fed into the discriminator. Also, the generator learns from these real samples. And then the discriminator tries to discern if this data is fake or real. And this is an iterative process, because the generator learns when the discriminator discovers the forge. So there's a lot going on in the artistic field. I have like a little sample of AI artists, so you can check the names. This is Mario Klingelman, Memories of a Passerby, that generates portraits in real time. Each portrait is different from the one that has came before. This is a very, very fantastic artist. It's Robbie Barat. It's a young genius. And this is a collaboration that he did with Barot, where he trained an algorithm to learn about how Barot painted the skulls, and the algorithm mimics the skulls. So it's a very collaborative, but at the same like a competitive process within the artist. Very interesting collaboration. This is Songwon Chen. This work is Omnia per Omnia, and she works using a collaboration where she paints with drones. She paints, but the drones paint with her, and the drones are fed with data. And this is probably one of my favorite artists, is Refik Anadol, and he creates architectural sculptures from data. And it's a very interesting, because this particular work, Machine Hallucination, is a representation of data coming from New York, a visual representation from New York. And the thing is, like, from here, we are seeing like AI as a tool for artists to create, to amplify their creativity possibilities. But also, some people consider that AI is an artist on its own right. What we are seeing here is from Simon Colton. It's the Painting Fool. And if you go to the Painting Fool website, the software, Colton is writing for the software, presents themselves as an author and saying that their aspiration is to be recognized as an author in its own right. So we kind of see the tension between intellectual property and what is happening in the sphere, because how we do catalog AI? Are we going to say that the works that are created from AI could be registered for copyright? Or are we going to say, like, if you don't have a human intervention, you have no author, so it's going to be in the public domain? This is kind of the fundamental question behind this in the field of copyright, because you have, as Valentine said, you have patents that artificial intelligence is making discoveries within the patent field, and they're going trying to patent this to register for patents, and it's a very, very complex discussion around this. So if you want to toy a bit around, also you have AI Gahaku, that you can see another way where AI is applied to art. You can upload a picture, and there's a process that's called style transfer, where your picture is going to be shown to you in a very different set of styles that mimic sometimes styles from artists. So you can have your painting in the liking of Van Gogh, which is not a problem because his works are in the public domain. But when you are talking about training data that is not in the public domain, that has copyright on it, is a problem. So these are painters that I was trying. And also, if you want to try, this is Art Breather, where you can use your own pictures or pictures that are in the website, and you can tweak around and breathe with other GAN images. So you can create like a lot of new portraits and a lot of new art based on like this breathing and tweaking with the photographs. So a very relevant field, if you listen to the talk that Valentine gave on Wednesday, is the ethics behind artificial intelligence. And the thing is, when people think about AI, they kind of it used to be like the normal narrative to be afraid of this robotic overlord that was going to come to us and maybe conquer us. But the thing is, what we should be really afraid of AI is how AI can fail, how AI can be biased, and the silly things like you train your neural network to recognize cats, and you get this an AI that doesn't adjust the model to your training data and gives you the wrong answers. But the thing is that if those wrong answers are inside the software that is protected by intellectual property, you are never probably going to know that these are wrong answers. And this is a very amusing case because you can see clearly that this is a cat. But imagine that this is not a software for recognizing pictures, but a software to say if you have a good performance as a teacher, or if you are able to get your credit score at the bank. So maybe you don't have the access to show that the machine is wrong. So this is something to have in mind. And this is an old saying from mi abuelita, from my grandma, that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So you have like a lot of uses for artificial intelligence that are said to be good. They're saying for advancement of humanity. But in reality, a lot of these systems are not trustworthy enough yet. So there is a lot going on in the field of facial recognition that we have to be aware of that. And the problem with artificial intelligence, the real rise of the machines, is like we have bias. We have to be aware of the future of work. A lot of employment is going to be lost to automation, surveillance, censorship. We were talking about discrimination and unfairness, that you can't prove that the algorithm is wrong because the lack of transparency. This is, we don't have much time, but this is a framework that I created to study this phenomena. And there are two things that for me are very relevant. And one of them is regarding intellectual property. And Valentine was talking about this on Wednesday, about how you have legal boxes, legal black boxes. You not only have like this technical opacity that you can access because you don't know how this works, but you also have this layer of law on top of that you can access, because if you want to do research on how this is working, this is protected by DRMs, digital rights management. So if you open that box, you're going to be in infringement and you can be prosecuted for that. So there is a lot of work doing regarding open data, open source software, and copyleft. But the thing is that if you put, and this is a very big problem, if you put rights on databases like we have in Europe, and you need these databases to be used for training your model, and you can access your data, and so you switch that data to another data that maybe is not that relevant for the problem, you are going to get a flow system. Remember when we were talking about the recipe and switching the ingredients? It's kind of the same. So intellectual property is like a huge thing about the discussions on artificial intelligence and the transparency that we need. There are a lot of artists that are doing fantastic work protesting on artificial intelligence. Valentine did talk about this, the exhibition from Excavating AI, how machines seize us and put labels on us. This is Jo Bolanimi from the Algorithmic Shastic League. She's fantastic. She has a lot of work about how machines couldn't recognize her face. And she created the Algorithmic Shastic League to prove that. And there is also a documental, very recent, Code Bias, about her journey on this. And this is a very recent artistic installation, the Meta Lab at Harvard, that's called Curatorial Agents, that uses the training data from the Harvard museums to show different critiques about how machines see us, how they can, for example, they created an exquisite corp, so you can see how machines interpret body parts. It's a really, really very interesting exhibition.
Mm-hmm. And Michaela?
Yes.
Hi. I don't know if you see me or if you just hear me, but I just wanted to tell you that there's 10 minutes left to the whole panel. Perfect. And I really wanted to hear you. So maybe you want, I don't know how many slides were left, but I know you have that expertise in intellectual property. Did you want to chat about that, or did you have a couple of slides at the end that really zoom in onto those questions?
Yes, I have these ones. Okay. And I'm going to go really quick about them. I'm sorry because I have my clock, but I tried to do it.
No worries. No worries.
So sorry.
No worries.
I was rushing through the slides. So one of the questions that are on Copyright Matters is the authorship. Are we going to consider the machine as an author or as a tool? So depending on the crescent levels of intervention and autonomy, can we consider that is the required level of authorship, and also how this is regulated in the legal national legal regimes? Because we have, like in the States, you have a specific directive from the Copyright Office saying that you need a human author to create this. So one of the problems is, are we going to assign rights to the machine? Are we going to assign rights to the author? Are we going to assign rights to the person that created the algorithm that is used for this? And the connected problem with this is you have derivative works. So is the training data, if the new work mimics the training data, in terms of intellectual property, this could be considered a derivative work. So if you don't reach the originality bar, this derivative work is not original enough to be afforded its own copyright protection. And the other thing that we have to consider is these uses of data for training purposes is not a reproduction per se in the sense of copyright infringement, but could be considered as a transformative use. And we have, like, an example of this is how the data has been used in the case of Google when scanning the books. So it's really a reproduction, or the thing of taking inferences and creating features, extracting features from this data is a transformative thing that doesn't mean a reproduction. These are very open questions that are being debated right now. We have the precedents of the non-human authorship on the case of the monkey selfie that maybe you are familiar with. Also, a long history about if you don't click the shutter, can you be an author if you envision how this work is going to end? And we have, like, this precedent on the Titanic and documentary case. This is kind of, I'm going to end with this. The thing is that we have a lot of different data involved in this process. You have training data, you have validation data, and you have test data. And this is only the process of developing the algorithm, developing the model. So you have a second process that implements this algorithm, and you have new data that is fed into this algorithm. So you have a lot of questions around how and who is going to be considered an author from this. And the very relevant thing about creating data and allowing copyright registration for machine-created works is that the volume and scale that you can create works with is, of course, non-possible to compete with human. So we are going to be to attend to a shrinking in the public domain open for human creativity if we afford copyright protection for machines. And this is all. So sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I wish we had more times that we can dive into this. So we'll have to organize another panel and continue this discussion.
We'll be very glad.
It's so complex. I mean, we need to understand AI. We need to understand IP. We need to understand the different implications. We have about 5 minutes left. So the answers to the questions I put in the chat here. So Brian's probably, I hope, relaying that to you around what are the ways people can stay informed and engaged in these conversations. So I shared in the chat the project that we're doing, which is an immersive interactive platform around AI ethics in general. So it's a really multidisciplinary space. It's a gallery, magazine, and documentary. We can share videos and really just keep on that dialogue and conversation going. There, of course, is the website for World Intellectual Property Organization, where they are holding currently international conversations around these issues. So I just wanted to answer that super quickly. And but I have 2 questions here, probably a lot more for you, Michaela, around how can you tell, for example, a real cat from a fake cat? Or what are some ways to tell if an artwork was created by an artist or AI? So I've heard of different initiatives, but I was not ready for that question, so I don't have a really specific website. Do you, Michaela, have any ideas on that?
They are training algorithms to perform this task, to detect the forces, but they are also kind of getting better at that. So it's kind of a perpetual process of iteration. The thing is that for the human eye, we can see this uncanny valley when you kind of sense that something is not quite right. And there are also like a lot of artifacts and residues in the images, maybe a melting, a melting earring or something that is very odd around the eyes. But the thing is that if this continues and is going to continue, this is going to be better and better and better, and it's going to be very difficult to distinguish this. And we didn't get into the adversarial attacks and the noises that can be the cyber attacks on machine recognition and computer vision. So it's a very, very important issue to continue to have our eyes on.
Yes, and I know there's a lot of broadcast news channels are looking and like Radio Canada, CBC are doing research around that because there's fake news issues as well, not just fake cats. So I just wanted to answer, someone was asking what are the, maybe we can finish with a couple of questions, answers each on what are important questions we should be asking ourselves as creators and cultural workers. I raised a couple on Thursday. I will be posting in the chat later on links to some of the work that I've been doing, which raises very important questions around, and WIPO or WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, is organizing these talks. And I think one of the quotes from the CEO is, if we don't invest into a thriving cultural sector, we will face imploded digital economies. So I think if I can answer just one, that's extremely important. And at the conference, I run a conference this week called AI on a Social Mission. I'll post that in the chat as well. We will have some deep dives on the implications around IP for human rights and socioeconomic development. There's extremely important questions to be asking ourselves there. And we will be talking about the role of art in digital governance, which is the rules around AI. So that's my little answer. There's 2 minutes left. I'm going to leave the closing words to you, Michaela. What are the important questions we need to ask ourselves as creators, as culture workers, as artists?
For me, it's the value of machine creation, because you can have like this commercial scale of intellectual property, like a shingle that you may use for an advertisement, but there is also another layer of feelings and intentions involving creation that we cannot mimic yet, but it's not impossible thing. But for me, the most relevant question is not to be so easy to afford protection for intellectual property creations created by artificial intelligence. Because
Wait, Michaela, I'm really sorry. If I have 30 seconds, I really have to thank Jessica Angel before, if we get cut off, just in case, and then I'm going to let you continue. So thank you, Jessica Angel. Thank you, Vancouver Biennale, for having us today. And you can continue, Michaela. I don't know how many seconds are left.
So please, please be mindful of the public domain and don't copyright things that will be a long time under protection. So we don't have a free space to create as humans.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us, Michaela. I hope you have the chance.
So much, Valentine.
You won't get cut off. Okay, thank you.
The machine is cutting us off.
No, it's Brian. We're going to blame Brian. I'm just joking. Okay. So I think this is going to end soon. So thank you very much, Michaela, for being with us. You Abo Gamer, it's really, I love it, because I think what I tweeted today was around the fact that, you know, you're a lawyer and you have these strategies, and as a gamer, you have these strategies. And so the two together, I was like, okay, she's on the ball. So thanks to everyone who's watching us today. And I guess it is time. So I guess I'll say goodbye and see everyone at hopefully AI and a Social Mission this week. There's Joshua Bengio speaking. There's interactive AI and art experts speaking. So see you there. And I'll post a whole bunch of links. And Michaela will as well in the chat. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you everyone. And thank you, Valentine, for the invitation. Bye.
Bye.